Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Can the folks in the back hear us? Awesome. How's lunch going? Yeah? Hopefully we get our vegan pasta out soon. We're so sorry about that happening. But thank you all so much for being here with us today, for sharing space with us, for creating community with us, for learning and hearing and engaging in tension. So I am just so grateful for everyone in this room, and I'm just excited for what's going to happen after the next 2 days come to an end. But they're not really coming to an end, right? Because we're just starting something right now. So my name is Jennifer Martinez. I am a staffer at the Idaho Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence, but that's not who I am. I am a first-generation Idahoan, a daughter of immigrants who came over and documented from Mexico, from Guanajuato, if there's any Guanajuato in the room. And I am a brown woman trying to create some social change in Idaho. And it's a hard road, but I wouldn't be doing it with anyone else than these folks up here in the room and everyone here with us today. And so I'm just going to go ahead and let us all introduce ourselves. And at one of the workshops or trainings I was at, someone said that they passed the mic to their left because that's the side that's closest to their heart. So I'm going to go ahead and do that.
Thanks. My name is Chelsea Gaona-Lincoln, and a lot of folks know me from Add the Words Idaho, but my favorite titles that I hold are daughter, granddaughter, friend, sisters, and then as of last year, wife. Van is somewhere out in the audience. So I'm just really excited to be here with all of you today.
Thanks, Chelsea. Thanks, Jen. My name's Malia Collins, and I teach English and creative writing at CWI, and Yes, thank you. And I'm so excited to be here. I'm so excited that you're here and excited to share the ideas of We Choose All of Us. So thank you for coming, and thank you for being here and for being up here.
My name is Leo Morales. Yay. Thank you. Thank you. Got some fans back there. Leo Morales, I'm here obviously as a brown man. Son of an immigrant. I am an immigrant myself. I'm also a father, proud father of 2 little ones, a partner as well. And I'm really happy to be here and share some perspective and be part of this movement with the team that's here.
Hi, my name is Toni Brinegar. I know. No, it's not really me. I'm very humble, trying to stay humble. So I am a brown person too. I'm from Idaho, and that is unusual, I think, for a black person to be from Idaho. I'm from a really small town west of here called Homedale. It's across the river. It's great out there. It's beautiful. Where my stepfather's farm was, you could see the Jump Creek Canyon, and it's beautiful. I'm a mom of 3. I have 2 dogs. One is a grandpa dog. He's 14. And then I have a 5-year-old dog that I just love her, but she's the most neediest being on earth. So that's who I am.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeff Matsushita. I'm a 3rd-generation biracial Japanese male-identified person. I'm a partner. Since 1999, we have 2 children. So the father title is one that I take with honor and also scared to take that. And along the lines of the journey that we're all on. And so as a basketball coach for a number of years, really encouraging our players to be courageous enough to fail, and working on giving myself that same permission to fail in doing this work and picking up and learning from lessons and reps of doing work. So I'm really honored to be a part of this group and on Kelly's team at the Idaho Coalition.
Thanks, Jeff. So I'm Kelly, and I see myself on this arc of time, and when I think about my ancestors from the Azores off the coast of Portugal and Ireland, and my descendants who are here today, my 2 daughters. So I think of myself in that way. I also see myself as a descendant of ancestors that came over and now believe themselves to be white. And so as a white woman, I think about the responsibility I have in this moment in time to really undo decades and decades and decades and hundreds of years of harm with responsibility and humility. I also think of myself as someone who actually believes in the possibility of a different world. I deeply believe it. And I actually see that all of you are part of that possibility, which gives me a great deal of hope, a great deal of hope.
Awesome. Thanks so much, everyone, for introducing yourselves. So I'm just going to get us started by kind of talking about what we're doing up here and like how did all of us just like come together. Like it didn't just happen, and it kind of did and it didn't, right? It was circumstance. At the middle of November of last year, we were all very sad, and we were all needing to come together for reasons. And we kind of took over a meeting that was supposed to be for something else, and we all came together and just were kind of just talking and being together, and we all just needed to share space. And from that, we decided to convene a group of people together starting in January of this year, every month for a day, not a full 8 hours, maybe 5 hours. And we would be in a room together, we would eat together, we would breathe together, which sounds like we always are breathing together, but really breathing, right? Like taking deep breaths and figuring out how to take care of ourselves again, our bodies, our spirits. And also, how do we challenge this narrative that we have in Idaho where not everyone is valued, where not everyone is seen, and where our systems are not working for all of us, right? And so we realize that before we can work together, we need to be able to just know each other. Because so often we are just saying like, hey, let's meet each other and let's plan this thing and let's have a strategic plan, and boom, we're doing it. But then we don't know how to move together. We don't know how to talk to each other. We don't know how to work through that, and things fall apart a lot. I mean, I can assure you most of us have been a part of 1 or 2 meetings that just kind of dwindled out, and then nothing happened afterwards. And so we've been meeting monthly, and we've just been figuring out this new vision, and we didn't come together for any intent. It wasn't coming together with any specific groups in mind or any specific organizations in mind. It was people who are genuinely trying to make something better for everyone here in Idaho who came together in this group. And we've kind of gotten to this place now where we're like, okay, we know each other, we're in relationship with one another, and we want to make that bigger. How do we expand that out? And it's not just us. It's been a moving group, growing and getting smaller, of about like 50 to 60 people or so who have come into this kind of monthly convening that we've had. And so now we want to kick it off, and we want to just really be courageous in having this vision. Because a lot of people will say, it's Idaho. Like, you're doing this in Idaho? You're trying to create this in Idaho? It's like, heck yeah, I'm trying to create this in Idaho. Because if I can't do it, if you can do it in Idaho, you can do it anywhere. Because Idaho is one of the hardest places to organize for a lot of different reasons. Not just because of our demographics, but because we are an incredibly rural state, where it takes you hours in some places to get to a town that has maybe 20,000 people in it, with maybe a Costco, maybe a Walmart, whatever, something where you can buy food, right? So that is what we're trying to do, is vision this thing and something better for all of us. And we know that we can never get there, right? Because I think Adrian said this morning, like, we don't want it to be perfect when we're not working on, oh no, are you okay? Worried about people? Okay. All right. We know that it's never going to be perfect, but we can always be working to make it better for everyone. And so that's what we're doing, and that's what we've been doing. So we're going to be showing you some stuff, but we have a table out there. You can talk to any of us at any time. But I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how it is that we got started and what it is that we're doing. And it sounds a little bit intangible still, but we're here to explain a little bit more in depth. I just wanted to give you a first glimmer of like how we dipped our toes in the water to get this started.
Thank you. In the interest of dipping our toes, as you can notice, some of the artwork that we have has changed over the years. But the intent is to engage and really honor our interpretation of what we see, be it colors or whatnot. And so we were really blessed to have Kristen Zimmerman help facilitate with our group. Yeah, yes, please clap your hands. And she became a resident of Idaho every 3 weeks. It was great to have Kristen, and she saw all of our seasons of snow and more snow. But one of the visuals that we have used in kind of helping explain this vision is talking about our moving from a decaying worldview and moving into something as more of an emergent worldview, as the talked about with a vortex. When something is created, there's replacing with. And I'll state from one of my habits has for a long time has been able to frame the problem really well, and specifically around men's violence and toxic masculinity. I can frame the problem all day, but if you want me to find solutions, that's something that I don't do well because I haven't practiced enough. And so when we did this example of what Kristen created, we framed the problem really well. After November 9, and Jen mentioned our commiserating or coming together through lots of sugar and chocolate. So we painted what we're coming out of, the decaying worldview, and Kristen set it up really well of like this big push from different sides, if you want to go that route, but almost the analogy of a cornered animal, and specifically a cornered rat. On its dying throes, will surge all of its energy to what it needs to do to survive. It will take up space with its body. It'll show its teeth, and making a big push, which gives it the sense that it's bigger than it really is. And so as a group, we were able to frame this decaying worldview in a very linear, a matter-of-fact way. And we gave a lot of credo to what this puffed up animal really was. And then collectively we worked together to kind of come into where we want to go towards, our horizon, our emergent worldview. And so I know the artwork is in the back, and I'd invite you to check it out and see what you see, maybe add your thoughts, but also in our work together as we are together, what we're working towards, because choosing all of us means really choosing all of us. And for me to even admit in my work with men, choosing to include men who cause harm. They are part of us. And so into that emergent worldview, what are we working towards? And I think the artwork, to me, speaks that it's fluid, and there's a circle, and it evolves, and everything flows together, and it's very connected. Yes, connection. So I think in that idea of what we're working towards is the invitation where we're all today. We're sitting, having a meal together. Somebody prepared it for us. So I think our energy and time, the privilege that we have right now in this space is to connect and ask yourselves, what are you working towards in this big collective we?
So the website that's up on there is wechooseallofus.org. So as what we called it a community of purpose. And actually when we came together, we didn't exactly know what our purpose was going to be, but we worked on our vision, our purpose. And then what emerged after we did the work around the decaying worldview to the emergent worldview is we started to say, there's something here. There's something here. There's something here both in the community of purpose as being a vehicle for change, which is simply just people coming together in a real and authentic way and doing the practices that Jen spoke about, like the breathing, the sharing the food, having really juicy, reflective questions, like what is the story of your name? And talking about emergent strategic facilitation, we had like 45 minutes on the agenda for that. We went like 3 hours. So. And we just went with it because it was what was needed. And there are many people that are in this room that were part of the community of purpose who I learned more about just with that simple question. Tell me the story of your name, or tell me the story of your people and what happened to them and what do they need to thrive. And so we found that both it was the self-reflection and the storytelling, and we started to really play with the emergent worldview, and we came together over a couple times, and we identified 5 platforms. We went with 5 because that's usually all people can handle, is 5 things. 5 things. And so Jen's pulled up on the website the 5 platforms, and on your tables, there's a couple cards, some samples of what they look like. So I'll invite Jen to press on to like belonging to beloved community. So each one of these, and this website is there for all of you to use with your families, your friends, your colleagues. Belonging to beloved community. Building beloved community is a choice to recognize everyone's inherent value. And so the self-reflection and conversation is reflect on a time that you knew you belonged unconditionally, and I'm talking about all of who you are, and what made this belonging possible. Then start sharing that story. So for us, it's this possibility of authentic, real connections on a human level that can really begin to create the transformation that we're looking for. Most importantly, that while the self-reflections are a key piece of this, it has to be about community. We have to bring community together on however you define it, and that community needs to begin to practice. And so up on the website, it has suggestions, and each of the 5, honestly, we call these port keys for the Harry Potter fans out there initially. How many people would have resonated with the port keys? Yeah, we were a little nervous about that, so we went with themes. Yeah. So these are like the 5 things that we think that can really transport us to a new world now, And so when we think about the 5 port keys, along with belonging to beloved community, we have together we are stronger. And so a sample around the together we are stronger, it's about repairing the past and current harms. And when we're talking about harms, we're talking about genocide of indigenous communities. We're talking about colonization. We're talking about slavery and all the ways that we devalue and dehumanize human beings. And when we begin to do that, we can bring new possibility to the future. And so that self-reflection and conversation is about who are your people? What is the past, present, and future story of your people? All of your people. And so we invite you to go to these 5 themes, whichever one, and you should go to the one where you have the most energy. Go to the one where you have the most excitement and energy, and begin to bring people together so they can actually have these conversations, that you can have them with family, with friends, with work colleagues, with your neighborhood. And we see this as that pathway towards really beginning to shift the new future of Idaho.
So they asked a few of us to share kind of those impacts that we've had since we've been experiencing this community of purpose. And for me, I was always the, if you want shit done gal, call Chelsea. She'll come in with her to-do list and her agendas, and that's what she does. And what I wasn't recognizing is that for the last decade, how harmful I was. How many people I missed out on because everything was so transactional. Everything was, we have a job to do, we don't have time to socialize, let's get it done. We can have a beer and celebrate after the goal is accomplished. And so for the last 10 years of my organizing, that's the kind of impact I was having without recognizing it. And even though I was taking up spaces that were meaningful and trying to be really well intended, it wasn't until after the election that I just had to completely have a halt, have a stop. And then I got this invitation from this group that was very new to me, from people I didn't really know. And I showed up the first time and we were breathing and stretching and doing things that were way out of my comfort zone. Just not me. Like, yoga is a home activity, okay? That's not something we're just gonna be building mountains together, breathing together. But I had to sit with that after I left and reflect on how much better I felt, how much lighter I felt, and the fact that those conversations were so reflective, and that I was put in a position to deeply listen to people who normally I would have said, okay, what's our goal? What's our task? Let's get it done. And I walked away with a whole new chosen family that I didn't even know existed. And from that, these relationships have built authentically in a way where I'm being seen fully just the way I should have been seeing them all along. So from that, it's changed how I'm showing up as an organizer, as a leader, as a follower. Just showing up and taking up space to support people, acknowledging and knowing that I don't have to be in front of that. That's not always my position or my place. And that's a good thing. That's an okay thing. It's a good thing to show up and be supportive. It's also good for my self-care to not have to take it all on. And I don't think that I would have had that had somebody not said, you know what, we see something in her, we're going to invite her. So if you walk away with all of your other gifts today, the gifts that you're bringing into these rooms and the gifts that other people are giving you, I hope that you will also recognize the gift of this invitation. So thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. So for me, 2 areas that I'll cover. One is the impact on myself and family. I guess that's 2, 3, I guess. Self, family, and work as well. So those are the 2 areas. I'll start with self. First, attending these convenings have been incredibly important because it continues to ground me, particularly in the deepest sense of our humanity. The conversations that we have are very, very deep, and they're also healing. They're healing because I would say that all of us carry some hurt. We do live in a world, like Jeff had described, the decaying worldview that's very painful. And we experience pain and hurt throughout, and to finally be at a place where you can realize that you have been carrying some baggage, and to get grounded in a way that you're transitioning to healing is very important. So these conversations for me personally have been very important, particularly as a person of color, as a farm worker, and the messages that were sent when I was younger to me that deal more with self-esteem issues and so on. Second, as a father, what a unique time for me to enter into these conversations, because again, it grounds me in that reality that I also now have additional responsibilities. And that responsibility is to make sure that I can be the best person that I can be for my two little ones and my partner as we raise other leaders in this world. And my parents, of course, I obviously work in a nonprofit, and in the nonprofits that I've worked, it's always been busy work, because that's nonprofit world. You all get that. And I used to do a lot of work, and I still do, but I think I've transitioned to also taking more time. I'll give an example. I took that entire week of Thanksgiving off, and I went and made Christmas wreaths with my family, where last year I didn't do that. And the previous year I didn't do that, right? So that's just that. I know there's lots of work. Trump is at the ACLU keeps us pretty busy. But taking some time off is important. Transitioning to work. So at work, the other things that we're doing, again, I'm relatively new in a position of leadership at the organization. And with leadership comes responsibilities as well as opportunities as well. And I think that one of the things that we're doing at the organization is also creating a space where all staff, we're all essentially a family. We come together to work for justice, and we're going to start creating justice at our own organization and making changes at our institutions that some of these institutions are institutions that are of privilege, particularly white privilege, and how do we reform our systems so that it's part of a larger movement as well. So that's my experience, and I'm glad that I'm part of this group as well.
So I want to talk about how this work and the way that we come together has impacted my teaching and ways that I've carried the ideas that we talk about and practice in the community of purpose into my teaching. And so I teach at College of Western Idaho. It's open access community college. And the classrooms are very diverse. We have students who come straight out of high school. We have people who've been out of school for 20, 30 years. They're coming back into school. And we have classrooms with lots of different voices, different opinions, different ideas. And it's also a school where many students come right before class and they leave quickly after. And being in this community of purpose and having time and space to be reflective was something that I thought, I want to do this. I want to take how I feel when I'm here back into my classroom. And I am lucky enough to teach English and creative writing, and we have a lot of time to write and to reflect. And I also teach a first semester experience class. And based on the work that we started back in January in the community of purpose and these themes that we have been thinking about, I thought, I want to teach that. I want to have that idea be something that we explore in my classroom. And so the class that I teach now is called Transformative Storytelling, Shift Your Worldview. And what has been the most magical thing that came out of it is, for their midterm, they did a partner story exchange. And starting week 5, they were randomly grouped into partners, and they spent a couple of weeks sharing a story that defines them. And Adrienne Marie Brown was talking about the idea of moving at the speed of trust. And I kept thinking about this as my students were working on their story exchange. And the midterm was they told their partner's story from the first person point of view. So if Chelsea and I were doing a story exchange, I would tell Chelsea's story as Chelsea, and Chelsea would tell my story as Malia. And it was incredibly powerful to hear the way that they honored each other's stories, to hear the way that they recognized each other's full humanity. And we were debriefing after the story exchange, and I said, what's the biggest thing that came out of this? And one of the students said, we started off as strangers and now we're a community. And I think this is what I want. If we can build a community in our classrooms and they go out into the world with their family and their friends and the people that they work with, and they share these ideas, this way of being together that's not transactional, that's sincere, and that's intimate, and that they feel comfortable sharing these stories, and people also honor those stories. It was such a joy for me as a teacher to see, and came out of the work that we're doing together with We Choose All of Us. So I'm thankful for that.
So just like all of these great people have talked about, being in community at the coalition with all these great people was wonderful. But I want to tell you a little bit about what happened to me. You know, I'm from rural Idaho. I was the only black person for miles, so I didn't have like super great growing up with lots of love from my community. However, I did have some privilege being where my parents were owners of land and school teachers, but there was a lot of hatefulness in my life. And so in 2008, when President Obama was elected, I will never forget that feeling, staring at the television, and my 4-year-old asked me, "Mommy, why are you crying?" Because I did not think this would happen in my lifetime, that a black person would be president. And so last year, I had the exact opposite feeling. So, you know, I'm kind of, you know, I'm hopeful for 8 years. Things are turned around. And then last year, I was just devastated. And I didn't realize I was doing this, but I was kind of just going through the motions of life. And I get this email from the coalition. And I'd done some work with them, and they said you should come and be in community. And I was like, what the hell? You know, I can't lose. So I went. And there I met the executive director, tells me, you should hydrate. I was like, nobody's ever told me to hydrate before. And I'm kind of feeling kind of thirsty. So I got some water, and she's like, you know, and eat something. And I was like, these are Kind bars. I love Kind bars. So, and then we breathed together, and I'm looking across the room, and I see Leo, and I see some of his staff, and I see other people of all races, all ages, and we're all have that same dazed look on our face. And I realized at that moment, I'm not alone. And not only am I not alone, but this is a space where every one of the staff people kept telling me, all of you is welcome here. Not just a piece of me, but all of me. And I never felt that before. I'd never had that feeling where I'm in a space with the diverse people, the diversity of perspectives are respected. We're talking about intimate things about who are my people, and it felt wonderful. And this wasn't something I was getting paid for or they're paying us. It's something that I felt in my heart. And so in a minute, Kelly's going to invite you to do something. It doesn't cost you a dime. It costs your time. But I would just highly encourage that you listen to this invitation and you take this opportunity, because I can guarantee you, just like it's changed our lives, it will change yours.
So what we want to say is that we choose all of us. We choose all of us. It's a hope. It's a hope for a new story, a future story of Idaho. And we actually believe that, as Adrian talked this morning, how the hate and violence has been more revealed, that it's more essential than ever. It's more essential than ever for us to begin to come together and really turn towards one another. All of us turn towards one another. And so we created this campaign. This campaign is just a piece of it, right? The website's a piece of it. I also want to mention that the artist of the website is a local 18-year-old high school student, just recently graduated, Ty Bosefith, who did this amazing artwork for us. Amazing artwork. And so we want to encourage you to join We Choose All of Us. You'll see there's a ticker tape on there. This is the time in a conference when I say take out your phones. There's also an app. On our app, you can actually click on the We Choose All of Us button. And if you haven't joined, join, and you'll see your name come across. By joining, what you're doing is you're taking a stance. You're taking a stance against the hate and the violence that's happening in our state, in our country, and you're saying, I am going to choose all of us, that no one is disposable, no one will be left behind, that we center the voices, lived experiences, and leadership of the communities that are being targeted, that are marginalized, and this is what we need to do. I want us to also realize the importance of doing this in Idaho, that we have to do it. I encourage you to sign up. What we're going to do is we're learning from nature, from Adrian's work, and what happens is when you sign up and you give us your information, we won't share it with anyone, but we're going to use it to help inform you, like every 4 to 6 weeks with different prompts, with ideas for self-reflection, for community conversations, to really engage in storytelling in ways that have been really disconnected from us, from the dominant culture that we need to really re-engage with. You're going to get prompts from us. You're going to get encouraged to meet in community on however you define your chosen community, to come together, to really begin to build deep relationships in order to do this essential work that needs to be done now. So get out your phones. Please join us. You'll see your name on there. And what happens, you will receive an email, because this is learning from the power of murmuration, from the starlings. And if you see on any of our conference materials the photograph that shows the starlings in the orange color kind of swooping and dancing through the sky, and they're able to move in these intricate patterns really fast, and this is what movement building is about. And what we know from nature is the way that they do this is by reaching out to 7 of their neighbors. So you're going to be invited to reach out to 7 of your neighbors, however you define them, by geography, by love, by familial relationship, by chosen family, and encourage them to do the same. We did a soft launch of the website about a week and a half ago, and we're already over 300 and some people. We want thousands and thousands. I'm not going to be shy about this. This is something that we see as really powerful, because it's been powerful for all of us to come together in a very different way. And we're not the only community in the world, in our country right now doing this, but we can sure do our best in Idaho to make it as powerful a community as we can. So I invite you, please go to your phones and sign up. We'll start watching the ticker tape across the bottom before we go to break, so you have a little bit of time to hydrate, Toni. Hydrate and breathe together, and really begin to engage in conversations about how you could bring this to your community. There's a workshop this afternoon that Jen and Chelsea, Malia, and Kristen will be doing on how you actually bring together a community of purpose and what are the elements, because we think we can start doing this around our state. And all of us, as well as many of you that have been part of the community of purpose that has been convening every month since November, are willing to come to different parts of the state to help you, whether or not it's in Boise or in North Idaho. Julie's already started before we were even ready, which was exciting, up in Coeur d'Alene. So we just see this as an opportunity to really begin to shift the narrative about what the story of the future of Idaho can be. So thank you very much, and thank you to everyone today for sharing your stories and all of who you are. Thank you.
Hi everyone. So we made it really easy. There's a button in the app, and if you push the We Choose All of Us button in the app, it'll take you right to the website, and then the first button that comes up then is Join Us. So if you're having any trouble with that or have any more questions about what this is, what it means, or anything like that, please find a staff member or anyone that was on the panel, and we'll be happy to talk your ear off about it. So I hope everything was good and lunch was good. Please hydrate. Take care of yourselves. Just a reminder, we have a restorative self-care and healing room, and that is the Farnsworth room, straight down and to the left. We have 2 amazing healers in this space. You should definitely go see sometime. So we have a 15-minute break right now, and then we'll start our workshops again at 1:30. Thank you so much. We choose all of us.